Hi, I'm Brittany Rizzo, and this is My Only Friends. Today, I sit down with the very lovely Molly McCook. You know her from The Ranch, Good Trouble, and Last Man Standing. When I first met Molly, I gravitated towards her because we share a lot of the same love for our dogs and all things Hilary Duff. She is also so kind and has such a warm presence. This episode reminds me of the Friends episode, the one with Rachel's other sister. One of my top 5 episodes of Friends ever. When people say they aren't fans of Friends or don't really watch the show, this is the episode I lead with to get them on board because it is literally perfect. I was thinking of this episode to correlate with Molly's interview because Molly came into a situation where she played a sister on a hit TV show and it caused quite the stir, just like Amy Green, but ultimately ended up being perfect. We talk a lot about navigating social media, our love of a good bath, and one of my new go-to shows, Felicity. Enjoy.
Great.
Sometimes it freaks me out when I have my AirPods in because I'm like, I can't hear anything. And then I'm like, someone could just literally come in here and I wouldn't even know it.
I know. When it said noise canceling, I'm like, cool. So we can all get kidnapped.
Literally. Or I'll like do meditations, like Insight Timer. And like, I'll literally turn off all the lights and then just put my AirPods in. And then I'm like, I'm kind of scared. I feel very vulnerable right now.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like it's so funny to ask how are you? Because I just saw you.
I know.
So I'm like,
but we didn't really get to that either.
I know.
Besides the normal, how are you?
Exactly.
Good. How are you? You know?
Yeah. What's going on?
Nothing. I'm obsessed with Halloween. So I've just been decorating my house and ordering too many things. And it's a problem.
That's so funny. I think I'm the only person who's not obsessed with Halloween.
I grew up in a house that was like the house in the neighborhood that it wasn't like too scary and it wasn't too kiddie. And it was like in between. And so when we moved into this house a year and a half ago, we left it for 4 months to go to New York. So I wasn't, and of all places to be in Manhattan when like during trick-or-treaters who are like trick-or-treating at bodegas, I was like, I'm really sad. I don't want people to think that the new people in the neighborhood aren't into Halloween. So I'm like going above and beyond for the children this year. For the children, for me, but I'm very excited.
What was your favorite Halloween costume growing up?
Growing up, oh my God. I mean, I was everything. I was, the Cinderella. I think I did Esmeralda. I did all of those things. I never did anything bloody or weird or gross. There was the year, actually, you'll appreciate this, the year that my mom searched high and low for that Lizzie McGuire poster skirt, the blue striped velour skirt. I was just like, I wore it all the time. So I think it was 7th or 8th grade. I had braces, so maybe it was 7th. But I just wore it and I put on like big butterfly wings and like antennas. And I was like, I'm a butterfly.
I'm Lizzie McGuire Metamorphosis. Hilary
Obviously.
Duff.
What do you mean? What am I? Obviously. Metamorphosis. So wow. I don't think I said that, but it's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, we should let people know that's what we bonded over first is both of our love for Hilary Duff.
Yeah.
She's iconic. Definitely just number one. Like if she did something, I had to do something too. Like she was my Regina George. Like she wore army pants and flip-flops. So I wore army pants and flip-flops like my whole life.
Yeah. I still stand because she's still working. She's like got all her marbles. She was and is an amazing, I don't know. It's a role model. Still, so we love it.
Yeah. She like that video of her on set, like thanking the crew. It was like, she's just so nice and classy to everybody. And it's just like, it's so refreshing. Speaking of fright and Halloween, do you get stage fright?
Yeah, of course.
Because even just like doing these podcasts, I'm like nervous, sweating and like,
it's so funny because you can literally edit it. Yeah. Whatever you want.
I know, but I'm like, I still get nervous. And even though like everybody I've had on, I know in real life, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Okay. The sound has to be good. And like the internet can't go out and this and that. And I just, and each stage fright is like different with like singing is completely different than acting. And with acting, it's completely different than this, but it's all like, do you get more stage fright acting versus singing?
Ooh, I don't, I think actually more acting, just because I feel like a lot more people are relying on me. So like, you know, when you're part of like an ensemble of any sort and acting in that way, you kind of are like, well, if I mess up the line, I mess all of this. I know I don't only mess you up. I mess up the crew. I mess up our time. I mess up our, you know, so I feel the pressures of that. And as soon as I start thinking about it, I spiral. So as soon as I'm aware that I'm acting, I'm out. You know what I mean? So that, and then, cause then it's like an immediate, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Even though we're all human, but yeah, the singing of it all is just sort of like a general, just like stage fright. I don't want to sound bad. I don't want to mess up. I mean, but it's all real. I mean, it's all, a couple of days ago, I had a Zoom in this room, and literally 2 seconds before I signed on, the Wi-Fi went out, and I was full panic, full heart beating out of my chest. I look outside the window, and a Spectrum truck had just pulled up, and I was like, sick vibe. First of all,
perfect timing.
First of all, I did put this on Do Not Disturb. It literally says Do Not Disturb.
Is it of someone on your favorites list? Because sometimes it could get through.
Yeah, it's my brother. Yeah. Also, my ringtone is the Succession theme song. So
that's so funny. I've never seen Succession.
Whoa.
I know.
Okay. That wouldn't have been like my theme of today, just because it's so new and it's a wild show. As an actor, you have to watch it because it's like so unreal. The acting is, and the writing is so good. And the fact that they're all horrendous human beings, and yet you're rooting for every single one of them, is like a very weird, twisted thing. Yeah, right. You gotta before it gets too late, unless you just like to binge, which I know you do.
Oh my gosh, it's a problem. And I'm fast. I am fast. If I'm into something, I will finish 4 seasons in a week. Like, oh my God. It's bad. It's a serious problem.
It's not.
That's true.
I mean, now it's considered work. So it's so interesting, because there are shows where I can watch and get completely taken out of it. And then there's other shows where I'm just like, oh man, this had to be the longest day of their lives. And like, oh yeah, I just can't stop thinking about it the whole time. Yeah. And then especially like if people are dating in real life and they have a scene together, I'm like, I don't know how I would be able to do that with my boyfriend or significant other. Like, that is so weird. But didn't you meet your husband in a show? I did, correct? On stage. Yeah.
How is that? How is that? Like, you're acting with somebody and then like, can you tell when he's acting now?
Well, we've sung together since being together. We weren't together, we met doing it. So we weren't together yet. And we haven't really like fully acted together since. Is that true? Am I forgetting something really obvious? This is also why I walk away from like interviews or something and I'm like, why did I say that? Like, I don't remember.
What about like self-tapes though? Like when he helps you in self-tapes, do you get super self-conscious? Cause I feel like, okay.
We've figured out a good vibe now, but for a while I was like, we can't do this. I think he's not allowed to make eye contact with me, because I fully think he's judging me, and he probably can hear me now. I actually feel terrible because I become a psycho, and I'm like, and I look at him and I'm like, what? He's like, nothing. I'm acting with you. I'm looking you in the eyes. And I'm like, yeah, but what did you think? Like, I could tell that you were, and he was like, I was listening. I was acting with you. Like, I think it's great. And then I'll be like, well, do you have any notes? And he'll be like, no. And I'm like, but you do, but you're not saying it. Oh, and I'll make him say it. This was when like self-tapes became a thing. And so it was like bad for a bit. And then we've reached like a really great place, but it's tough. It's tough to have like on one hand, it's amazing that I have like a live-in partner for those moments. But on the other hand, it was rough for a second, because I think we all were just really insecure. And the same thing happens when I have to read for him. It is like, it's a thing. It's weird. But now it's like it's a routine. All right, let's get this done. And it's a comfort. Like, I had him read for me on the Zoom, and like, it was nice. It was nice to have him there with his eyeballs.
I'm the same way. I had a girlfriend over the other night, and she knew before I even said anything. She goes, I'm not looking at you. I said, okay, I just need you to be my eyeline. She said, she was like, I know, but I won't look at you. I know you don't want me to look at you because I'm the same exact way. And even when I sing, I'm like, okay, but you won't have to turn around. Like, I don't, it's so weird.
Oh yeah. The singing is very weird. I can never do that.
When I would hate when I was younger and people would just put me on the spot and be like, Brittany can sing. And I'd be like, no, that's never going to happen.
No,
but
never. I don't even like karaoke. Like, and I'm a full-blown singer. Yeah. I don't love it. I don't know why. I always have to make a bit out of it. Like I feel like I always have to do like Whitney and like, but like do a boy, like put on a voice, or Celine and put on a voice. Or
do you think that's because like I feel like some people, because look, in LA, karaoke night is like a showcase night. Everybody is such a good singer. And then it's almost like you don't want people to think you're like showing off.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny. I've always felt weird about it. Whenever people have had karaoke things, I'm always like about going. I haven't been in a while, but my friend, actually, she just had this interview and I was just reading it and I was like, oh yeah, that explains it perfectly. I mean, granted, she's a full-blown singer for her whole career, but she worded it as like, it feels self-indulgent. Like my whole life is singing for people. Like I don't need to go to karaoke and do it too. So like, I will literally like rap or
that's so fun.
Do something ironically. I'm like, yeah, it does. It feels funny.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah.
I get that.
It's still fun.
I am obsessed with karaoke though, because I find that like with singing, I know other people's songs to like that I feel comfortable with singing. But if somebody puts me on the spot to sing one of my own, I feel like I don't write well for myself or like know how to showcase my voice or choose songs that showcase my voice. And then I'm like, whatever. I just have like this like Bluetooth microphone that my friend Sarah got me. Yeah. And I will literally, when I'm like, oh, I have nothing to do, especially during COVID, I would put on YouTube karaoke and just like sing in my apartment. And I'm sure my neighbors were like, what is going on? Oh my God.
Whatever. We've all been there.
Have you done live television before or just in front of a live audience?
Live TV. I've done like interviews that are live. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's nerve wracking.
That's the worst. Also, I have a potty mouth. So like one of my biggest fears isn't that I'm going to like mess up a line. It's that I'm going to say something bad.
I totally get that. And it's so funny because my mom and I were just having this discussion of how like when she was growing up, how bad these words were. And like, now I'm like, oh, everybody says all this shit. Like, what do you mean? Like, who cares?
Oh, for sure. It's just like, I also see people not caring at all, like on award shows or whatever. If like, you know, it's only the delayed couple of seconds. That's like the one person's job to bleep it out. And I'm like, yeah, well, they're going to need to be on call for me because.
So I want to talk about Last Man Standing because that's obviously where a lot of people know you from. I mean, you were on the ranch before, and was it Good Trouble?
Yeah.
Good Trouble. Yeah. When you got the call for Last Man Standing, like how excited were you?
It was like excitement, but also relief. It was a really, really long audition process.
Ooh, so tell me.
I was really, I was put through the ringer, honestly. And to be put, and I've been put through the ringer, not as intensely and as long, but I have been through that before and not have it go my way, which is really awful. So, I mean, the process was basically, I got the audition. It said recast. I was very familiar with the show in terms of, I hadn't like watched a lot of it, but my friend Christoph, who played my husband Kyle on it, has been my friend for years and years and years and years. So I knew it, and I knew who played his wife for 6 seasons. And I saw that and I was like, I'm so wrong for this. Like, but fine, for fun and for them to see me again, like, why not? So I think there's a sense of like, I don't know, there isn't as much pressure when you like take it off yourself and you're like, I'm not even right for this, or, you know, whatever. So yeah, I mean, it was normal in terms of like audition, callback. I think I got a couple callbacks and they were very open with me. And the casting office was like, which is funny to talk about them now because they're friends of mine now, but like, they were basically like, listen, we really love you. You were an unexpected person who walked in because physically you are nothing like her. And they were like, just know that like, we really love what you're doing. Don't change anything, like keep it up. And then we got to the screen test and it was me and 2 girls who looked just like her. The pressure was also off because I looked around and I was like, okay, well, it's either that or it's me. Like, and I remember I walked into that room with everyone and they in the room were really kind and were like, really love this. We love what you're doing. We played a little bit and they were like, but we're going to be honest with you. The network is having trouble with how different you look, but you are who we want. And like, and I was kind of just like, well, scary because the network, it is their decision, you know, at the end of this. So, they were like, we just want to perfect this. Like, we're going to direct you and you just do what you do. And we're going to make like the best. Cause you know, we're over here, like making a tape all together that's going to be sent to the network. And they were like, we're just going to make this as best as we can. And then we did that. You know, this was all like in a month. It really took such a long time. And I'm just like, and when you screen test, you sign your life away, you know, you're seeing how many years you're committing to. If it continues, you're seeing how much money you're going to make. It's a life-changing thing. And it's impossible, honestly, to not get excited about it. And see who you're going to be working with and stuff. And so when you're in that process, you are technically under a contract of like, they do have to tell you if you're being released because you're technically on hold so that you don't book anything else in the meantime. And so I just was waiting like a crazy person. And they finally called and they said, we need another step. And I was like, oh, for the love. Said, we need you to have a chemistry read with Christoph Sanders. At this point, they don't know that I'm friends with him.
But you were like, hell yes, got it.
I mean, I actually didn't even tell him. I didn't even tell him until I was testing because
oh my gosh.
This. And I called him and I was like, here's the deal. And, I told him I tested. He was like, what? Like, whoa. And then he was like, they're calling me, telling me they want a chemistry read. So he's like, come over, let's work on this. So we worked on material. He helped, we kind of like figured out our little physical fun things and literally drove there together onto the CVS lot. And he was the best because he got to be like, hey guys, you know that Molly's been my friend for, 10, 12 years. And they were like, you didn't tell us that. And I was like, yeah, I didn't want to like be that person, but they were like, oh, plus this is great. And then, I finally found out and I cried in relief because I was like, can you imagine if after all of that, which happens a lot.
And that's also like the dream though, is to work with your friends. Like you're like all, doing this hustle out here together. And then the fact that you like got to feel also, I'm sure like you weren't as nervous because you had someone who had your back there no matter what, like this person who cared about you.
Really was like my protector and all that. And I think he was really grateful to have me too, because once we came back, things were different. It was a new network and it was different for people. And I knew Amanda as well, who played my sister, and she went to high school with my sister. And so we had met through that and through other actors. So we were like, I had met Jordan before a number of times. So yeah, it was just like, it was a very supportive place and I bonded with people. It was just, I was really nervous to come into a space where everybody was just already a family, like for so long. And I'm over here having never been a series regular on an ongoing show. I had never, I just felt like the pressure was on. I'd heard all these horror stories of people getting fired after being there. And so I was just like constantly felt like I was auditioning, but that was also only put on by myself. Like everybody was so welcoming. Tim was like, I saw your tape. I loved what you did. Like everybody was like, you deserve to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And that like couldn't have been more helpful. It was honestly like my brain and my ego and also the internet and like Twitter and stuff was really rough on me for the whole time I was there.
Oh, that makes me want to cry because I'm like, you're such a sweet person. And I literally like, I got like the smallest glimpse of how people can be mean to you on social media. And like, I commented back to somebody because I was like, who are you? Like, shut up. Like,
I know.
see, and you were like, you're like, what are you? Just some fan, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, she's my friend. And I was like, yeah, let's go find this guy. Like, I was like so amped up, but I was just like, it makes me so upset. Like, but I get it. That's part of the job. Like, it used to not be, but now it's like, social media is such a huge part of the thing. So how do you navigate that? Like, how do you literally go, okay, this is what I will respond to. This is what I won't. And like, especially when you're coming onto a show where you're replacing somebody.
There were phases, right? So first my phase was like, I just was like, this is a nightmare. Like I get my dream job, but I can't fully celebrate it. And then I kind of, then I got mad, right? So my steps of, whatever it was, I then would like respond to some people and I was like, what am I doing? This is so silly. Right. Who even are these people? I got sassy, I got silly, I was hurt. And then I pulled back from that. I got a lot of advice from people being like, don't feed into it. Like, who cares?
Right.
And then I tried reaching out and being like, I think I tweeted out like, hey, because people had this not my Mandy hashtag. And I was like, hey, I see that and I hear you. And there are shows that I adore that, like, if they change and replace someone, I would also have an issue. I hear you, but I want you to know that like, I'm doing my best. Like, I was hired by the people that you love. So like, just give it a chance. And if if you never accept me, you never accept me, and that's fine. But, because people were like, I'm not going to watch anymore. And then they would. So it's like, I didn't ruin your show. Right. Like, and then I went through another phase of like being like, oh, the people who just sit on the internet and troll, I would like look at their profile and realize like all they do is troll people. So I'd be like, oh, it's not just me. You just are a sad person who does this all day. So then I think have come to a good place of like, I would also, the way that our human brain works is like, I would scroll past like all the good stuff, right? Like scroll past and past and past and see the one thing that was so horrible. And I'd be like, my life is over. And it's like, it's such a good test for us. So then I had to like learn to either look less or take the good as well. And thank those people for being so kind. And over the years, it got better. I think people were more accepting and kinder to me. And I started not paying attention to those people. So, and yeah, you'll never win. You just won't. Right.
And I love that they went a completely different direction because it left no room for comparison. You know what I mean?
I know.
Where like, if it would have been a little short brunette again, it would have been like, oh, well, she's this and Mandy was this and she, and I'm sure that still happened, but I kind of love that I do love that they went a completely opposite direction. And it was just like, what? But like funny.
They talked about dyeing my hair. I think that was like one of the notes from Network. Like, would she consider? I'm like, yeah, I'd do anything. I'd shave my head off, like, okay, this is what we do. But like, I don't think it's going to make a difference. Like, I'm still 5'11" and I'm still not her.
Right.
I don't think.
Have you guys ever like talked or met?
Yeah. I met her because of Christoph. Because they're friends. So I met her a lot. Yeah. But I think people were also fans were really angry with her. She got off social media for a while because they were like, how dare you leave? And she was like, it wasn't like that. We got canceled. Like, I got a job. Like,
right.
That's how it works,
Right.
A year later. And like, I can't believe everyone else was available,
Right.
They couldn't not have the middle daughter when that's the premise of the show is about him having these 3 girls. So it's like, boo-hoo. I don't know. Like if you hated it, then bye, you know,
Yeah.
but
It's interesting because it's like the people on the internet who are saying these things, if they saw you in real life, they would never say these things and they would ask for a picture. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's all like hidden behind the computer screen or phone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The first time you worked with Tim, were you starstruck?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yes. Sorry. I didn't mean to hesitate. Yes, I was. I'm just trying to think of like what I did. It was really overwhelming because he was, I mean, a huge part of my childhood. It's like Buzz Lightyear, but also the Santa Claus being like one of my top movies of all time. Like Same. It is my number one Christmas movie. And he knows that. I did not shy away from that. I asked him all the questions and he knows, and I've been to his house and held the snow globe and the hot cocoa mug, and I fangirled out. He like went into storage and got it for me. Like, it's honestly like psychotic, but he's so unapologetically him. And he's so exactly who he is as like Scott Calvin. He's exactly who he is, you know, so there wasn't any like sort of shock there. And he adores this show. Like he loves Last Man Standing, and he was so grateful that the show was back, and he was so heartbroken when it was initially canceled. I mean, and canceled this time. It feels like a betrayal, and to him especially. And so he was just so grateful that we were there. So he was very kind. And yeah, I think I quickly just had to like shake it off. There were moments where I was like, I'm acting with Tim Allen right now.
Yeah.
And that's when the stage fright was like,
yeah.
But I don't know. As soon as I like could make him laugh, I was like, all right, I'm in.
Made it.
Yeah.
I think the first time I met him and he wished me a Merry Christmas, I got in my car and I cried. I was like, Santa just wished me a Merry Christmas, Mom. Like I lost it. And like, it's just so funny because it doesn't matter. I mean, he's been coming into my job for a while now. And so when I see him, I'm always like, and when we were talking about the new Santa Claus coming out, he's so excited about it.
Oh.
And I told him, I said, if I would have told 9-year-old Brittany right now she was talking to you about the Santa Claus, I think her head would have exploded. And he just started laughing, but he gets just as excited about it. And it's like, it's so funny because I feel like a lot of people in LA are like, they try to not act like they're starstruck, or they think they're too cool kind of, or like, oh yeah, I see that person all the time, where I'm like, I've lived here for 10 years and I will never not think it's cool that I could walk down my street and see Johnny Knoxville. I
have lived here my whole life and I still am like, whoa, I can play it cool, but my brain is like
freaking out. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's so weird. And you think about other parts of the country, or like where people don't see any actor ever. And it's like, it's such a crazy life that we live, like whether we're in or not, to just be in a place where people are everywhere. It's like,
absolutely. Like I could be having the worst day, but then go to Whole Foods and see Pete Wentz. And I'm like me, like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you grew up in LA, which I think is like, I don't know a lot of people who grew up in LA. All my friends are the transplants basically. And your dad is an actor. So you basically always knew, and like, did you always know that you wanted to be an actor as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I knew my parents knew I was the baby. My siblings were very much like not about the attention. Like I obsessed over as the baby of the family obnoxiously. My mom was an actor as well, but she quit before I was born. So, I was very much in the know. I got to visit my dad on set all the time, and all the way up till now, he's on the same show at 78. So it's like
amazing.
Honestly, I think it did help. Would I have been in exactly where I'm at if they weren't. If my dad was not an actor and I didn't grow up on a set, probably, but I don't know that I would have had like all the advice. And I don't know. They also like didn't let me be a kid actor. They were like, you do all the theater, be all in all the acting classes. And I was in acting classes with all the kids who were on Nickelodeon and Disney. And that's how I know so many people, is because I literally like watched their careers happen. And I was like, please, please, please me. I want to be Lizzie McGuire. I want my own show. My parents were like, LOL, okay, no, like, we know you want that, but we don't, like, it's just too risky in terms of ruining your whole life. And even though I was raised really well and they did an amazing job, because their advice was always just like, be kind and be gracious. And yeah, basically they just, until they had to throw their hands up and be like, all right, we can't stop you anymore. Like, fine, you can audition.
Right.
But yeah, I knew like as a kid, I didn't know what, like to what capacity. I think I went through wanting to be a pop star. I went through wanting to be, all sorts of different things, but they all had to do with performing.
I'm laughing because I just feel like you and I are so much alike. And that's why I gravitated towards you when I met you, because we literally like, we do like all of the same things. Our dogs' names are the same, like Lizzie McGuire. Like we just, I feel like you just get it. You know what I mean? There's people who just get it, like get what you're really pumped about.
Yeah.
And I had that same thing where I was like, I'm going to be a pop star. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
It was always a pop star before an actor. Which is a question so to wrap this into Felicity. So you chose Felicity as your comfort show. And I was watching it last night and she said something, I just wish growing up felt a little better. And I was like, oh, that just, because like, how do you feel? You're 30, you just turned 30.
32. Yeah.
32. So you're 1990. Okay. So I'm 91. So basically the same.
Yeah.
I have these moments where I'm like, I feel like a giant child still. Like
I am. What age do I feel? I just said, I feel like I'm 13, playing house. This is not my home. Like playing house with someone else's credit card, like with like fake responsibilities that I have to like pass. My parents live 8 minutes away. I feel comforted by that. Like, I fully feel like a big baby.
Yeah. It's so weird because I'm like, there are days where I'm like, wow, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm producing a podcast. I'm auditioning. I'm living alone in my apartment in Los Angeles. And then I'm like, yeah, but I still sleep with my Elmo doll and I can't go to sleep without watching Friends. So like, am I that grown up? I don't know. Like, it's so weird. And then it's also like, in relating it to Felicity, when she was talking about how like, I wish growing up felt a little better in the sense of like the decisions you have to make that are not, they don't feel great in the moment and everything always works out the way it's supposed to. But when you're making new decisions, and I think I've been going through this a lot recently of like, I'm having a lot of changes for the good in my life, but so making decisions feels scarier because it's more unknown. It's not more of the same. And you're just like, and then you're going to disappoint some people in your decisions. You're gonna, make somebody sad, unfortunately, if you're doing what's best for you and that's it. So it's that quote really, really stuck with me.
Yeah. The unpredictability of life is I feel like that's the thing I complain about the most. If I could just say that I'm going to be okay in 2 years or in a couple months, or like, it's the unknown that gets you. And as an actor, that's like, it's only unknown.
Yeah.
So, but that's also life. So and the felicity of it all is like, what's ironic is like, I'm 32 and I still watch it as my comfort, and she's in college, and like, these are the issues and these are the lessons that we will be dealing with forever as an adult. So it just so happens that she's first discovering it at that time. And I didn't go to college. I didn't go to school, but it was
I
like,
was going to ask you that.
yeah. I mean, it was the one I considered it. I almost like went to New York and studied theater, and I was really going back and forth, but a lot of the schools that I looked at didn't let you work and stay in school at the same time. And I was like, oh, but I've already kind of started my process and I don't want to stop it and have to start over in 4 years. And so I made the decision to not go. And like, Felicity is the only thing that made me want a college experience, which is like so funny because it's literally a TV show and it's not that glamorous, but there was something so coming of age about it. And New York City and all of there, because I grew up in LA. So the New York of it all before I had really experienced New York was really attractive to me too. So and the cute boys and the love triangles and I really felt like I related to Felicity a lot, I think, because of I don't know, she had a good head on her shoulders. I feel like, and she was the voice of the show. So you really felt like an audience member that you were experiencing everything with her because she had that narrative.
Right. It's interesting because she definitely has a huge arc, which thank God, because in the beginning, I definitely was like, I'm going to punch her in the face. Like, how could you be so dumb to change your whole life for a guy? But then I was like, have I done that before? Have I made a decision based on a guy? Probably. One doesn't stick out too much because
I sometimes want to punch Carrie. I want to punch Carrie Bradshaw in the face a lot. Just kind of like, but
yeah, it's interesting. When I asked you your comfort show, I thought for sure it was going to be Sex and the City.
That's funny. I mean, it is.
I mean, we all have multiple, but I think Felicity, like what I really love about this show is that they don't shy away from anything. And like, this was in the 90s and they're talking about abortion and they're talking about gay marriage and like,
it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. And I really loved it. It's interesting because sometimes I watch the show and I'm like, this was definitely written by a man through the male gaze. And then there's other times where I'm like, oh, good for them. But like the episode where she cuts her hair, as someone who's worked in salons my whole life, it's like when she said, when I went to the hair cutting place, I was like, oh, a guy wrote this. Who says hair cutting place? Like it's the salon. Like, but it's so funny because I related to that episode so much because I chopped my hair off and everybody had a big fat feeling about it.
Worse.
And people were like, what made you decide to do that? Oh, that's interesting. Our favorite. That's an interesting haircut.
Interesting. Okay. Cool. Elaborate.
But it felt so, I mean, you chopped your hair too. And it feels so liberating.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first heard the snip in the back of my hair, I was like, it felt like jumping out of a plane because I was like, I can't go back now. But then I just felt like lighter. Like I felt like I got rid of all this past trauma and just like everything I was attached to is just gone. And I loved it. It took me 10 years to do it, but I loved it.
I know what's funny is I never had like long hair, but I had extensions for years because that's what I wanted. But my hair, I didn't have the patience to let it grow. So it was like the moment of finally, it was a release because also I wasn't paying for that anymore.
Oh, same. Mine was always extensions. Mine was always extensions. And like, now I can like rub my head again. I'm like, this is amazing. And not just like, it's so, and I just feel like more connected to myself. So it's just so interesting how this character cuts her hair and everybody's so mad about it. Yeah. Like they lost funding for this show over her cutting her hair, which is insane.
That's very real. The industry and TV and film is all about visual. Like it's about how we look. It's also really messed up, but yeah, it's real.
Was there a specific scene from Felicity that just like really, you were like, oh, I see myself in her so much. And like,
I mean, so much, so many, she has so many good like speeches, talking about like, I don't know, moments of growth, I guess, when she's talking into her recorder, to Sally, right? Dear Sally. But I mean, the episode, I have two in my brain, if I'm remembering correctly, and now you've watched it, so you understand, but
I'm on season 3. Okay.
The first season finale is such a wild, amazingly written and acted cliffhanger, like just the iconic love triangle of like, which way am I going to go here? And I genuinely, I know you feel differently, but I genuinely like adored both of those boys. And I thought that it was so well cast because they're both so loving in their different ways. And I have loved both of those kinds of people. And I've also been in situations where you'll see in the show, but I've also been in situations like Noel, where it's like, you're friends with someone who you adore more than anything in the world that you've either had a past with or not. And they're like, I want to be with you. And you're like, but it's not like that. And they're like, well, I can't have you in my life. And it's such a loss and it's so heartbreaking. And I've actually been rewatching season 3 just to kind of like get back into it. Cause I feel like I always rewatch 1 and 2. And then I'm like, wait, now I need to watch the end again. But the big speech and moment for me,
the one where she's like, I can't be with you like this.
Yes, because Ben is being a dummy teenager, dumb boy. And she says, I can't be with you like this. Right. Cause we've all been there where someone is like mistreating us, but we're sticking around because we love them or because it's comfortable or like, you know, whatever. And she finally just realizes that like, he doesn't deserve her, which I think is so powerful for her, especially at that age. She goes, I can't be with you like this. I mean, I know I said that I could, but I can't. I just can't compromise myself like that. I'm an emotional person. I feel things and I need to be able to get upset and talk about how I'm feeling. That's just who I am. And I can't change it, which is like, yes. And she says, I don't want to. And the thing is, you know, that this like really takes it, because it's like, it's one thing if you're like, hey, I'm stronger than this, but she's like, you know me more than anyone. Like you did know that.
And you're still asking me to do this.
She says, you knew it and you still pursued me because you want something with me, which is so selfish, you know, you just aren't strong enough to have it, which in a way makes you a coward. And the saddest part is that one day you're going to wake up and you're going to realize what you missed and it's going to be too late. And that hits him like a ton of bricks, but he also is like silent because he knows.
Yeah, I do. I love it so much because here's the thing. When I first started watching it, I was like, okay, it's a little slow burn. And then I got so into it. I don't love Noel. I know. I mean, I think they paint him as the good guy and he thinks he's a good guy when he makes his decisions. But then it's like, I mean, this is spoiler alert city for anybody who hasn't seen Felicity and plans on watching it. But the episode where he literally walks off with his ex-girlfriend, it's like, what? And then you get mad at Felicity for going out at night. Like you don't get that right. It's like so selfish to me.
I have a lot of empathy for him because I think they're all really selfish. I think it's that time in their lives, you know, I think they're all making a lot of mistakes. They're all hurting each other. They're hurting themselves. And I don't know why. I think I'm very familiar in my life. I've been very in tune with people like that. And, I mean, to a fault, I think I've forgiven people for those kinds of things. I think just because I empathize with them. And so I think I watch it from a perspective of for Noel, which is just like, oh no, you're doing it again and you're going to regret it. It's stupid. And I think I just like, I think because I've also seen the whole show and because I've so many times and I know how much, I know how much love is there for all the characters. And I know how much he loves Felicity. And I think he makes a lot of mistakes because of his love for her and stupid ones.
Right. I just love how endearing Ben is. Ben like always has this goofy smile on his face and is just like so
he annoys me more than Noel.
Huh.
And I love Ben.
Yeah.
But like when he makes mistakes, I am like, you're a fucking idiot. Like he makes me mad. Cause I think when he's lost, I feel like Noel like acts out in a dumb, like stupid way, like, like without thinking. And he like makes these big like plans and like rash decisions. It's just like, he makes me laugh because I think it's like harmless, even though he hurts people. But for me, Ben is like, so, I don't know. It just feels a little more careless in like a pointed way. I don't know why. I don't know. It might be where I am in the show also that I'm like,
it's interesting how you like, I mean, I do the same thing when I watch Gilmore Girls. I love when Luke and Lorelai are like courting and like it's the will they, won't they. But when they're really in the gist of their relationship, I don't like them together. Like,
I don't know if Gilmore Girl.
Oh my God.
Probably because I've rewatched Felicity too many times.
Probably.
I was watching something new. I should. I already know. I know I love it.
What I do really like about Felicity too, though, is the whole situation with Julie when she went through that. They're very open about her like going to counseling and getting help, which I really liked because I feel like, you know, there can be a lot of shows where somebody does reach out and it goes bad. So it gives people the idea like, oh, if I were to reach out, it wouldn't go well either. Or like I'm being forced to go to therapy because of something I did, as opposed to like, she genuinely was like, I want to talk to somebody about this. So I liked that a lot.
Yeah. They're very open about therapy and counseling. Like, you know, the guidance counselor is a big role in it. I like that a lot. Yeah. They're very open about that. And about feelings and about talking to people, which is nice. They did a good job with that for sure.
Are you in therapy?
I'm not in therapy right now, but I'll tell you what, I should be. I have, and I should be. And
I don't mean to laugh, but the face you made after you said I should be was just really funny.
Well, it's funny because I'm like always looking, and also, I need to find one that takes my insurance and all that kind of stuff.
It's hard.
Constant struggle. I need to find one and not wait till I'm like at rock bottom, which is like what I tend to do. I wait till like I'm in a predicament or I'm just like, gotta go now, pick up the phone, call, as opposed to like being inconsistent, therapy.
Right.
The thing is that's ironic about it is like, I am the most open person. Like I treat every friend, every family member, my husband, like I am like, they're all my therapists, to be honest. But that doesn't mean that I should be talking to someone who's like not related, because
right. What do you struggle with the most?
Oh gosh, I have a lot of kind of like family history trauma in terms of like drama, and I have like there's like an estranged kind of on and off family member it's really been traumatic for like my whole family. And I think for me as like the baby of the family, I feel like I put a responsibility on myself to make everybody happy. So I think that weighs on me a lot. It's nothing that anyone else is doing. I put it on myself. So that's heavy. I think. So that gets to me a lot. And also like the being an actor thing, and trying to keep my head above water, and, especially in an in-between moment of not having a job. I think it's hard to not like be very hard on myself, but I don't feel alone in that because I'm surrounded by a lot of fellow actors as well. So I find that's also really therapeutic to talk about that with everyone. I had a hard time when we were in New York. We were there for like 3 or 4 months when my husband, John, was finishing up his time in a Broadway show. Because we had just gotten this house, and I had said that before, but we left it so quickly, and I'm such a nester, and we didn't have a moment to really nest. And then we left, and I adore New York. I've spent a lot of time there. It's very special for me and John. But we had gotten rid of our place, like our apartment, during the pandemic. So when we went back for that 4 months, we were staying in a friend's place. So it like wasn't our things on the walls. It was, you're always in a small place in New York. It was kind of dark. and I got depressed. We had like a mouse problem. I also like, it was the first time in a while that I was like unemployed, and John was doing his 8 shows a week. And like, thank God for my dog, Maxine, because it gave me a purpose. Cause like we drove across country literally because we had her. And so if it wasn't for her, I don't know honestly what I would have done day to day, but like she got me out of that apartment and I was taking her to dog parks every day. But it was hard. It was weird. I was really homesick. I was having a hard time. So I'm very affected by my environment, which is I think why I'm so in love with like not just decorating for holidays, but like I'm very into like interior design, and it's something that like fulfills me. Like John will be gone for a day and he'll come home and I painted the hallway green, or like, and it genuinely makes me happy. Like even to like bring furniture or get little knickknacks and move things around, and it's creative too. So I think that it gives me joy.
Yeah, just having your own space for sure. Like I'm the same way in the sense of like last night I came home, I cleaned my apartment and organized. And I was just like, this helps me feel better. And I know I'm not going to feel calm. Like I won't feel calm unless my space is clean and organized. And I'm like, light a candle and just relax. Like I can't come home to like clutter or anything like that. So I couldn't imagine being away from my brand new house, then not being in my own home. And like, so, I mean, I was going to ask you, because you love Felicity and you like loved that it was in New York, but would you want to live there or would you want to, you're more LA?
We have lived there. But I think I enjoyed it a lot because I was like, I had our place here before this place and John was there and we had a place. So it was literally like it was a dream for a moment because we had a place in both places. So like that was the ultimate, but like, that's not, you can't like sustain that life financially. It's wild. Also, I'm such a California girl, and I think I'm such a family person, and John being from here as well, we both just want to be close to family. So I think it was hard for us to be away. But then again, we had like some really magical, like we had a Thanksgiving and Christmas in our apartment there. And that was really special and sweet. And I remember my parents came out and we had Christmas Day there, and we had Thanksgiving there and had friends over, and we made a turkey and we did all the things, and it was really special. So we also have really special memories there. But I think what was really helpful with us both being from here is like, we knew that when we bought, we like wanted roots in a place that was close to family, because like we want to start a family and that'll be nice to be near them. And, and we just love it. I love my car. I love driving.
Yeah.
For me, like having my transportation be like sitting on the subway, even though I could put in headphones and I could like read a book. I was so very surrounded by people all the time. And I think that was, as someone who really, really values her alone time, I think that was really hard for me because I love being in my car and listening to podcasts, or music, or singing, or talking to myself, or talking to someone on the phone. I think we recently went back to New York and visited for a wedding. And like, we stayed in Midtown, which was really fun for us because we used to live uptown, which we loved. And it was quiet and it was a nice pocket, but like being in the middle of the city and visiting was really fun and special for us. And we were like, this was a really nice visit because we got to like, I don't know, get some closure on the city instead of leaving in like such a way. Because when we were there for 4 months, like our car got broken into, and because we drove it there and it was crazy to have a car there, but it was sitting there and someone just broke the back of the window and it was brand new. And it's just like, it seemed like so many things from the universe. Like there came a point where we looked at each other and we were like,
time to go. Yeah.
But I really love it. And it's a very, very special place. And so I'm excited to continue visiting it, and maybe a job will bring us there, one of us there, and it'll also be special then. But I think we just needed to get away.
In those hard times, like, do you channel a certain character?
I really do love Carrie Bradshaw, as annoying as she is.
Yeah.
I actually I like journaling, but my hand gets tired.
Same.
I actually started writing journal entries on my computer, which feels very
Carrie. Very Carrie.
I have like Dear Universe things on my computer that I just sort of like type and I date. And I actually wrote one in the backyard the other day, but like I will sit and light a candle and just type, it's not for anybody except me.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that that's very Carrie of me. I mean, Felicity, I don't know. I love how she talks to her girl. I love how Carrie talks to her girlfriends, but I feel like that's also friends. And, I'm very good at that. I like bath time. I light candles and I read a book and I put my phone away, and yeah, bath time is.
Oh, I love a good Epsom salt bath. It's like my heaven. And I'll listen to, because like Epsom salt, I don't try to sit in a bath for too long, but I did this 300 list where it sounds, I think I was telling you about this one time. You write down like 300 manifestations, which is a lot.
300
300. So I wrote down, I have it. I wrote it down. And then after I did it, I recorded it and I'll listen to it while I'm in the bath and just visualize it. But I did it a couple months ago, and it's literally like some of it, like one is like all my bills are paid on time in full. And then another one is like, I have friends over for dinner every Sunday, and like, or I am beautiful, or I am the strongest mentally I've ever been, or I have booked a recurring on a TV series. Like it's from anything to like, I have brand new area rugs, which I'm not getting into that. I returned the rug, but even just listening to it and visualizing it, I do it every single day. And I'm like slowly looking at like, oh yeah, I have that. Oh yeah, I have that. And like,
it's really powerful.
It's so powerful. So like, just like that time alone in the bath and listening to that or reading my list is like a ritual for me that definitely just helps clear my mental like capacity to just like take in good and clear like all the negative thoughts that I keep ruminating on. And like, it's definitely, I love Insight Timer, like meditating apps that are just like, so even if it's for like 5 minutes, you feel accomplished if you complete a meditation.
Yeah. I like manifesting either before bed or first thing in the morning to like set the day, set the tone. You're either setting the tone for your sleep or you're doing it for your day or both. It's very helpful.
Growing up, what was like the first time you were watching TV and you were like, this is me?
Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah.
Like literally. Well, because the age was really right there. It was cute and fun and it wasn't heavy at that age. But she went through it. Like, I'll never forget, like, I want a bra. Like that episode, I was like, I did that. I was like, I want a bra. Like I was friends with a couple of girls who were a few years older than me. And I saw they had like bra straps. My mom was like, you don't have anything to support. I was like, I don't care. Just things like that. But she was just such a good, like that character, that show. It was so sweet. And like, it was so fun. And I remember the episode where, God, so many good ones, but there was one where she, her mom gave her a pair of pants. Remember this episode? She like had her jeans, jeans. And then she wanted the ones that were in the window at the store. And she got them and she wore those, but then she felt guilty. And I had like such a sweet and honest, similar relationship with my mom. And I still do, but like at that age where like, even if I would rebel a little bit, barely, I was a pretty good kid, but like, even if I would lie or do something like that, because I got caught up with friends or a trend or like, whatever, by the time I was like in bed or home, I would cry to her because I like couldn't lie to her ever. And I found that with Lizzie McGuire. I don't know if I learned that from her or I just like related to her so much. But, by the end of the episode, she's like being honest with her and apologizing. And her mom was always so understanding and is very similar in that way. She was always like, thank you for telling me, I really appreciate you being honest. Like, I wish you hadn't done that, but, it's okay. And it always let me trust that I could be honest with her. So I continued to be. I never like, also texting became a thing in like high school. So like once texting became a thing, she was like, if you're late for your curfew, like it's okay, but just let me know you're alive. Like send me a text, Mom, I'm running 30 minutes late. I'm really sorry. Everything is okay. And I was really good about that. So like she trusted me, which was good. But yeah, the Lizzie of it all, I don't know. I don't know how much of it I was like inspired by, or if it just like so happened that we were similar. I don't know. I don't know which it is, but probably both.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like there aren't TV shows like that for kids now, where it's just like a growing up show where like, I feel like everything on Disney after that was like Pop Star by day, Normal Teen by night, or Wizard by day, Normal Teen by night, you know, like it was never just like, I guess like Good Luck Charlie maybe, but there's so like, I feel like Lizzie McGuire and even Stevens, it was like, just like regular kids and like going through what we were going through at that time and making you be like,
cartoons are like that. Like, you know, if I'm ever watching a friend's kid or whatever, I think those have stayed pretty innocent.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, because like the mom on Felicity, the parents on Felicity are not like that at all.
No.
They're so unsupportive all the time.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I never think about that. Like it was rough. The parents on that show were rough, and it was kind of an interesting thing to show people like, hey, it's okay if your family life at home isn't perfect like other TV shows, you know. It's
really interesting because the episode, I mean, I am loving watching this show, by the way. Like I will talk about it to anybody who will listen at this point. It's funny, I always forget. I named my dog Lila after Carrie Russell in August Rush because her name was Lila Novak in it. And I just fell in love with it. And I loved the story of August Rush so much. And I was like, that's my Lila. Like, but anyways, there's an episode of Felicity where they're talking, like when she changes everything, she drops pre-med, she cuts her hair, and she is like dating somebody else. And she's like, I kind of like that my parents don't know any of this. Like, it feels like it's mine. Like for once something is mine. And I related to that in a way because it's like, I have a whole life that I'm living in LA and my parents are not here. And while I share a lot with them, there are things that are mine. And like, there's things about me that they probably don't know, that like how I am on a day-to-day basis. And when I go home, it's like, you know, we all kind of code switch a little bit when we're home. We're like, okay, I'm daughter Brittany right now. And like, you know, you filter things, but it was just so interesting. Like I related to Felicity so much in that moment where she was just like, no, these are mine. And like, I don't want to have to share these things.
Yeah.
And she's very, I just love like seeing how she's getting stronger and stronger for herself and like being on her own and just kind of like what she will and won't put up with. And I feel like I'm at that time in my life too, where I'm kind of like finding my voice for myself. And people are like people who know me would be like, what do you mean? But when it comes to new people in my life, I think I have that like, well, I don't want to like ruffle any feathers and I don't want to like, you know, ruin, like burn a bridge or this or that. And so I put on this kind of like, I feel like when people meet me, they would probably like right off the bat think I was more shy and reserved. And I get that from Felicity too, where it's like, she just seems very like, yes, no. But once you get to know me, I'm like, nope, not happening. Like I'm very strong in like sticking up for myself. But
yeah.
Is there a quote that you use often from any TV show that like most people wouldn't probably get?
Oh God, I don't, you know, what's weird. I don't really quote TV. I feel like Friends is like probably the most obvious. Mm-hmm. I'm a movie quoter. Like I have movies that are, oh my God, that I obsessed over when I was younger. I don't watch movies repetitively now enough to like have newer ones that are memorized, but like the amount of times that I quote School of Rock, that I quote She's the Man, that I quote Lizzie McGuire, like all those things that were so big in my life. I feel like, yeah, show wise, I probably quote Joey the most from Friends.
So good.
So good. Chandler also has some good one-liners. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't quote TV that much. Yeah. But I think Friends is the most quotable for sure.
So you're a Friends watcher.
Yeah. I can't I can't compete with you.
It's just so like, I'll always like be like, oh yeah, it's like that Friends episode where, and people are like, I don't know that one. I'm like, but you said you watched it. Like,
Yeah.
you said you watched it. What do you mean you don't know this one? Like,
Yeah.
so funny. So like, is Felicity the show that makes you feel more connected to yourself, or is there another show that does that? Like, I know that like even now I've been watching a lot of Felicity and other people's shows that they recommend, and like I'll fall asleep and I don't get good sleep if I don't have Friends on. If I'm having like a day where I'm like, everything is stressing me out, I just need to breathe, I have to put Friends on, and it just makes me feel more connected to myself, and it like, breaks that tension that's going throughout my body.
I mean, the funny thing about Felicity is like, I didn't watch it. I watched it late. I was too young to have watched it when it was on the air. My older sister watched it, but like it does make me feel centered, but I don't know that I put it on enough. You know what I mean? For it to be like that thing for me. I do feel funny saying Friends because
no, don't feel funny. Be proud.
I do think that too. I think there is no show that did as beautiful of a job making you laugh, but also making you cry. And like the fact that I can put on any episode and know that I could potentially feel both of those emotions. It's like also knowing those characters as well as all of us did. And I feel like they were those people. And it was so devastating when it ended because of that, because we all just felt like, and then like watching them cry at the end. Oh my God. Yeah, I think that's definitely a top comfort show for me, for sure. Yeah. Like every day, every time it's on in the background, or while I'm sitting there watching it, it's too good. It's too good. It makes me feel good.
Yeah. And it just makes you feel like, well, they're here, so nothing bad could happen. Like I got my appendix out during COVID, and right when I got there, it was like right before they took me into surgery, Friends was on TBS. And so I was like, okay, fine. Like at least I can just sit and watch Friends. And then when I woke up and, in another room, I was like, can you turn this TV on? And the nurse was getting so frustrated with me. I was like, no, you need to put Friends on right now. Yeah. And then I just had Friends playing the whole time I was in like the recovering room or whatever. And it was like, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have that. Like, yeah. I truly, because I had to be alone because it was COVID. Nobody could be in there with me. Like my family couldn't come in, nothing. And having them there, it was like, okay, well, at least I feel safe. I feel protected with these people. Yeah, my friends are here. I'm like a crazy person. If it's not a TV show and if you're feeling super disconnected from yourself, what's your first thing that you do?
I think it's as simple as like lighting a candle or incense and sitting and putting my phone down. I found that I really like putting on music that doesn't have lyrics in it, because I just like will always be singing along with something or always be distracted by stories. So putting on any music that's like doesn't make me think a lot. I don't know. It feels really good to read a book. I really love reading. And even though that is not about me, like even though I'm like, reading about whatever I'm reading about, I do feel more centered just like not being connected to the internet.
Yeah. It's
just constant. And like, I'm not amazing at it, but like, I definitely feel when I'm overwhelmed by it. And I will be like, I'll even like catch myself in the middle of that, picking up my phone. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, it's there. Like, go away. Everyone's fine. Everyone's alive. Like, it's going to be okay.
See, that's where I find like a lot of my worry of not having my phone comes from, is like, but what if something happens and I don't have my phone? Like that is one of my biggest, like, because I have a horrible problem with my phone when I'm in LA by myself, but when I'm home with my family, I don't care, because I know everybody's there and everybody's safe. Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I know this is so funny because you could also argue that it's bad, but when I got an Apple Watch, I felt a little more calm about my phone. Like, I feel like when I go to lunch or coffee with a friend, my phone can be in my purse. I don't need to leave it on the table. I don't need to have it out. So that like my watch buzzes, I can glance at it. If it's not like an SOS or like a, whatever, everyone alive, cool. It's a quick glance. So that has helped me. I feel like some people are like, it seems like it would be the opposite. It's just like another device to like check your, but like, I'm not going to lie. I check my text when I get that, if I can hear it or if I can, see that it's there. So like, if I can just do a quick glance of like, everyone's alive.
Yeah. It's so funny because even like last night when I was watching Felicity and Ben was at the airport and Felicity like took the internship and I was like, damn, that sucks. He just has to fucking sit there and think about this for the next 3 hours before his flight. Yeah. Like nobody's on a phone. Nobody's doing anything but just like sitting at the airport. And I was like, that is so weird.
It's so weird. I think about that all the time. Like if people are going through trauma, or me going through trauma or whatever, like the idea of like sobbing. Also, like sometimes I'll be scrolling through TikTok and I'll see a TikTok of someone sobbing and like recording themselves. And I was like, the idea that you would think to pick up your phone and record yourself, that makes me really hate the times. Like, are you okay? Like the fact that you needed to, I don't know. That's just icky to me. Also, like the idea of scrolling while you're like sobbing is like, you're literally ignoring what
the actual feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely problematic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because in that time that Ben was sitting at the airport doing nothing, he got to like reflect and like really think about things, where we live in a world now where you don't have to sit in your feelings. If you don't like something, you can just move on to the next. And like, it's also such a bad thing. And I feel like, the substance, the quality of people and their personalities is just like, how do you find out who you really are if you don't sit with those feelings a little bit? And we do live in a world where it's like instant gratification, instant on to the next. And it's like, it makes me sad too. Because especially like, that's why I love doing this podcast, is because we're just sitting here talking and like, you don't get that in a lot of environments anymore. Everything is like connect to Wi-Fi at the restaurant. Like it's why?
I know.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
And I don't see it, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's like, how do we, I think I do get judgmental of like Gen Z because it's all they've ever known. And so like, I don't know that they come to a point of like being like, I need to get off my phone. I need to have a moment of this or that. And maybe that's me being unfair. Like maybe I'm totally wrong and they're completely in tune with knowing they've had too much screen time or knowing that they are recording every single thing that happens to them too much. And obviously that's not to say that like every person of that age range does it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how that kind of evolves. I don't know. It just seems like a big Black Mirror episode coming.
Right. I know. I think that's why like we like watching the shows like Felicity and Friends and all these things, because it was before this time. And it was just, and that's what I said to you when I first started watching Felicity, is how much I love that like the writing is so different and it's also engaging. And there's always, these big feelings going on in connection, but it's also because none of them had phones. They're like looking at their pagers or calling a payphone, which is like, so fun. I know.
That's why I love rom-coms. It's like, and maybe that's why every time a new rom-com comes out and I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be a really good rom-com? Because I'm so like, that speaking of comfort is like any rom-com from that time, Julia Roberts, Meg Ryan, Sandra Bullock, like that's my everything. And, whenever any new one comes out, like I get it. We have to keep up with the now, like that's the realistic part of dating at this point is like that you text people or you are on social media. And so it's kind of almost like icky because I'm so used to the like, You've Got Mail and My Best Friend's Wedding and stuff like that. So like the new rom-coms are so saturated. Like there's so much texting and there's so much social media that I'm like immediately turned off. But that you're right. That must be it. It's just like, that's why we love the old stuff, is because it's innocent. And then again, if there was a rom-com made now that's supposed to be today and there isn't texting and social media, people will be like, this isn't realistic. So
exactly.
I don't know. I guess we need to write one where their phones get lost and
Or we just write one and we set it in a different time period.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's gotta be like, oh, like based in like 2005, 2006. Like, I think people are doing like 90s and like 2001, but like 2006, 2007 was like, there were cell phones, but texting wasn't that popular. So it's like people could still get a hold of you, but you weren't glued to them. There was no social media.
Yeah.
Which I have to like, I mean, going back to the beginning of our conversation with social media, like, I can't imagine, like, as an actor, are there, like, for me, I know that I will look on people's social media who are in this industry and I'm like, they're doing so much and I feel so far away from my dream and what I want to do. And like, I feel behind in a sense. And then I feel like when you're a working actor, you're opening it up to, again, the trolls of the internet. Like, there's so many things that come with social media and how bad it could be for your mental health in general. And it's like, I've always said, I'm like, if I were to book something tomorrow, I would delete all my social media because I don't think I'd be able to handle it, or like turn my comments off, because when I get a good response from things on social media, I'm like shocked. I'm like, what? People like me? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely envious of those kinds of people, like the Jennifer Lawrences and Emma Stone, people who like never got on it. And I think, I mean, granted, I think that's like, they were always on a level of stardom that like, they didn't need it to promote themselves. Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's brave to not be on there. And, you know, I think being an actor and a performer, unfortunately, like we're kind of like, we hold on to this thing of like needing a presence and maybe someone will see my Instagram, you know, it's like, it's so, and unfortunately, like I do have friends who like their team has approached them and been like, you got to get on TikTok. And they're like, please, no, I really don't want to. And they're like, you have to. That's the big thing now. Like, you have to be on the stuff. And it's like, when will it end? Like, right. I enjoy TikTok. My TikTok has not gone viral. I could not care less. Like, and I think that's why I like being on there, because like my brain on Instagram is still connected to likes and comments and like followers. Whereas like TikTok, nothing's like picked up yet. And I love being creative on there. I like scrolling because now my algorithm is stuff that I like and care about. There's still shitty and stupid stuff on there, but like there's something really free about scrolling through there for me and making content, because I'm not like, will people like this? Right. I'm like, great. 10 people saw that. That's hilarious. I could not care less, but I have fun making it. So it's like, you know, whatever, but I know that that's not the norm. I know. And I can't promise that I'll feel that way forever about it, but
was there a moment in your career working on everything that you've worked on? What was the moment, like the most surreal moment where you were like, I've made it. Like, I feel good.
Oh gosh. I mean, I have a few. When I worked on Good Trouble, that was really special. I think because I was working on material and stories that like meant a lot to people. It is the thing that I get approached for the most. I had someone last week who made my coffee, and she was like, I love you in Good Trouble. And I watch it and just everybody in it, like the stories they tell are really powerful and important. And like, that means a lot to me. To have been a part of something that was so epic. And I had a storyline on there that was really emotional and like powerful for me to portray. And like, anyway, so that there was that aspect of it that was really special for me. And then working on Last Man Standing, it was my first, I mean, it was every single one, but it was my first live audience. Like, because, you know, you do like an entrance. It walking out there while everyone's clapping for you is wild. It's a wild experience. So to have been a part of like an ensemble and have like a whole audience there, like laughing at what you do and giving you that validation, it's scary, but it's also the most fun. And like, I always dreamed sitcom was like my number one goal. And I grew up doing theater, and to have had such an incredible experience, like doing a TV show that's live, married the two. It's like theater and TV mixed together. And I think that's also why the last season was so heartbreaking, because of COVID, we didn't get to have the live audience. And there were lots of things about that last season that were heartbreaking. We didn't have a wrap party and things like that, you know, but like the live audience thing was a really wild, I think because of Friends and things like that, that the fact that I was experiencing what, you know, all those other amazing sitcoms experienced, it felt really surreal. And I never took it for granted. Honestly, I was never on that show long enough 3 years was enough for me to like, I don't know, take in that I deserved to be there, but I definitely didn't take any day for granted. I was very aware of the shoes that I was, you know, stepping into. And yeah, I wish it lasted longer, you know?
Yeah. When it ended, I mean, even when you leave any job, there's a part of you that just feels, I mean, unless you really hated it, you're relieved, but it's
Right.
like, you know, I'm transitioning jobs right now, and I am so sad that there are people I'm not going to see on a regular basis anymore. And it's like, you know, I'm waking up and I'm like, am I really doing this? Like, is this really going to be over? Is this not happening anymore? Like, it's really, really weird. But in the acting world, it's like, you're constantly getting new jobs all the time. And, you know, shows don't run forever, but I could imagine like when you left Last Man Standing, when that show ended, like how hard, you know, you're kind of grieving, you're in a grieving process a little bit.
Yeah, it was really emotional too, because the whole last season, we knew it was our last. So, and when they were canceled the first time on ABC, like they were canceled during an off time. They didn't know. Ooh. So they kind of grieved in shock on their own. But knowing that it's coming was really hard. I don't know which would have been worse, to be honest. I think it was Tim who was like, I would have rather them do it again, because this is like hell, like knowing that it's coming and like just getting more and more sad the closer that we got. And yet we also got to soak it up. But at the same time, we didn't, because we couldn't hang out in our dressing rooms together. And like,
right.
We would hug when we weren't filming, and the COVID officer would be like, hey, and we were like, I was just laying on their lap in a scene.
Right.
I said, and you're telling me that I can't stand this close talking to someone, you know, it was hard. So there was like a whole other layer of heartbreak there. And it's like summer camp. It's the exact same feeling. I went to a theater camp in upstate New York. Some of my best friends still are from that camp that I met at, and I went there for 4 years. And the way that I would sob whenever I left summer to come back home. I mean, like it was like such a heartbreak, especially because all those friends were on the East Coast. So I really felt like I was coming home to like people who didn't understand me, which is like so dramatic, but like, it literally is like summer camp, and doing a play and doing a musical is the same thing. And like, when you finish that experience, you're all kind of going like, we'll stay in touch, but it's like this fear of like, not, you know, and it's like, no, we will for a second, but like life goes on. And, you know, I don't know. It was really, really hard. I like remember that last scene, like Tim did we actually did have a live friends and family audience for our last episode, which was really sweet. And Tim, you know, does this vlog during every episode. And obviously normally we film it in a random order, but like he did that one last, and we all waited until the last take, and we all like ran in and hugged him, and we were all just like sobbing. It was really hard. It was like really, it's just a very strange thing to be like, see it, like even when we had however many months off for hiatus, like, we'll see you. Like we knew we were picked up. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a strange thing. You keep in touch, like you do. Like I've talked to every single person. Christoph is still one of my best friends in the world. I see him really often. I talk to Amanda often, Nancy often, like I'll text him about stuff. And I was on it last Christmas. I forced a text with everyone, and I was like, I don't care. We will figure out a date. And we all ended up going to Tim's house and having a Christmas dinner. And like, I was really happy that I pushed that, because it was really hard, honestly, to get a date on the books for everybody to be available. And it was really special. And like,
yeah,
really glad that we did it. So life does go on and you will forever be family, but it's like, you do have to make an effort. And that's just the reality, but I do, everybody appreciates it because it's kind of hard.
Right. Right. But it's also nice to know, because not a lot of shows, we think every show is a family and it's not.
Oh yeah.
And
sure.
so that is really nice to like have, and that you guys will always have that, even if 10 years go by and nobody sees each other and it gets too busy. I'm sure you guys all shared this one really successful experience together. So it's, it's nice to have that.
Yeah.
What do you hope is next?
Anything?
Or what is next?
No, I mean, I'm not joking, but
I mean, honestly, same.
I mean, for real. I have my hopes. I mean, I would love to do another sitcom, but I know that there's few and I know that it's rare for them to even get greenlit. It's rare for them to get on the air and have a season and a season and a season. So like, although that would be lovely to experience again and in a way where I'm not a replacement, I think I'm just looking forward to like being a part of something from the beginning. I would love to feel like I'm creating something, and being a part of the OG group would be really exciting. And
right. Like originating a character and making it your own. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, it's rare for me. I don't think I'll be getting another replacement situation anytime soon, if ever again, but like, unless with theater, that's much more common.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for that. I want to be a part of a pilot from the beginning that like goes on to be really successful. And I want to experience that kind of family as well. And I don't know. I love comedy. I'd love to be on a single cam comedy. I love New Girl. I'd love to be on a show like that, like I would love all of that. But I also love drama. I want to experience all of it. It was really fun to go from Good Trouble and being this like snobby Republican lawyer to like playing this like ditzy sitcom girl. It was like a dream to go from the opposite thing. I really, really felt like an actor. So like I just want to work, and I just want to do what I love and meet people and collaborate with people. So I think it would be really fun to have my next job, like be a little more open to a collaborative thing. And I think I learned a lot in those 3 years, like so much. And by the end I was open with like suggesting things, but I think it would be really good for me to like, I don't know, I hope to have like an open communication with writers and be able to collaborate a little bit more. It wasn't my place coming into a show that was already established. And I think I'm excited to learn more about how to speak for your character and be a part of that. So I don't know. I'm excited for whatever comes next. The unknown.
I know. The unknown. What is your advice to people who want to get into this business, or people who are in it and they're feeling, I know all of us are feeling kind of like, what are we doing right now? What's happening? The industry feels so different than it did years ago. How are you navigating it? And what would you tell some, like if somebody was like, I want to be an actor, what do I do? Where do I start? What would you say to them?
I'd say run. No, I wouldn't. Honestly, my first thing would be like, are you doing it because you love it? Or are you doing it to be famous? Because if you're doing it to be famous, get out of here. Like, whatever. I think fall in love with what you do, be in a class, like act with people. I think the biggest learning experiences for me have been acting with people. Like, honestly, whether you're acting across from someone or like, working on auditions with people, it's helpful, and it gets you ready. I think that it's a muscle and we need to be ready for anything. And our job, like advice that my dad always gave me and gives me, is like, our job right now is auditioning. The job right now is to be warm and ready to book. And whatever that means to you, whatever that is. And auditioning, sometimes if there's a lot of it, like that's enough to keep you warm. It is, but the fun comes with booking a job. There's obviously work there too. Like once you get on a set, it's a whole other set of work, like a thing of work. But like, I think you just have to love what you do and love it genuinely for the reasons of loving being an actor. Otherwise you won't survive. You know, you have to really love this. And my mom quit acting, like, yes, because she fell in love with being a mother, but you can be a mother and being an actor as well. But like she quit because she didn't love it enough. And she looks at me all the time and she's like, man, you love it on a level that I never did. She's like, because I couldn't handle it. And that was back then. And it was brutal back then, but it is all sorts of brutal now. And there's just like, the competition is so much more fierce now. And there's just so many more people doing it. So I think you have to love it. And like some of the best advice that I've ever gotten is like, you sometimes, just like anything else, you have to fall back in love with it. Like, it's okay if you fall out of love with it. I have been doing that recently, having to like force myself to like fall back in love with doing it and not define myself as only a working actor. And it's hard, you know. I think we just have to like love it, and we have to be grateful and gracious. And when we do get to work, because, you know, we're very lucky to, and, you know, hear those horror stories about people not being grateful, and like take those and learn from them.
Yeah.
I hear them and it shocks me. I hear horror stories about people and I'm just like, the idea of people being mean and ungrateful to be in their position, it just like, it confuses me. And it's like, you can lose yourself. So yeah, I think it's just like, be grateful, love what you do, fall back in love with it. It's okay if you've fallen out of love with it. It doesn't mean anything. It just means try and find it again and find your footing. And then when you get there, like, be grateful for it, you know, go away any minute. And also once you're at that point where you're continuing on a show and there's like people who are coming in as, you know, small parts or background or whatever, like, be kind to them. They'll remember that.
Right.
You know? I remember all the moments of regular, like going on and being a guest star or co-star and like I remember being ignored, and I remember being spoken to in a nice way. And like, I remember both.
Yeah. And also, like, I love everything that you said, because it's so true. Because a lot of people do think that they're going to come to LA and just be famous, and they don't realize the actual work it takes. I mean, you can go years without booking something, and you can also be a series regular tomorrow. You just don't know. But a lot of it too is have fun. I think everybody forgets that we do this because we had fun doing it. And it goes along with like the being grateful of like, there are so many people who want to be doing this right now. And there are so many people who would kill to be in that position. So like you said, when you hear people who are on set and they're not nice, or they just want to go home, and you're like, a bad day on set is better than any good day at some job that I could have right now. Like, I could be here. I could sit on a soundstage for 12 hours. I do not care. If you don't like that, then this isn't the business for you, you know?
I mean, and granted, like, I have also, with any industry really, but like when it comes to success, like, you will always complain. That's just the way that life works, right? Like, I can say my biggest dream right now, and then I could get that dream and be like, oh, wow, A, it's not what I thought it is, or B, this is a whole other set of problems, you know, like, we're human and that happens, you know? So I'm not saying like we're all perfect, but, you know, and I also know from hearing friends' experiences that like, no matter where you are in life, like, there's always something, and there's always going to be people to bring you down. But I think you just have to have a good perspective and I mean, most importantly, a good surrounding group of people that you can talk to and that you can be open with, or a therapist, or both.
Yeah. What's the most useful piece of advice you've gotten from another actor or a therapist that helps you on a day-to-day basis, whether it's, you know, in your daily life or on set?
My parents, I think, even though they're my parents, but they're also actors. So I'll you know, consider them as both, because they are, but like, it was always the be gracious thing. It was always like such a simple piece of advice that I've like taken with me, I think, because they've seen it all. And I've seen it all, not all, but like I've seen, I mean, in terms of like people's attitude or whatever. And it creates a good environment for other people. And a lot of our industry revolves around like networking, and like, it's hard to network now, obviously from home. But like when you do get that job or you do get that meeting or whatever, like, you know, graciousness is, I don't know, people can sense that from you. They can sense anything from you. So when you just like give that out, if you're just like someone that people want to work with, like, even if this isn't the job that you get, like, I think it's definitely a realistic thing to know that like they could call you at some point, you know, you can work with people again and again, or work with people for the first time after years because they remember a conversation with you, or remember you being kind and saying thank you. And I just think that that matters so much. Go a long way. So I think that I think that'll always be my number one advice that I'll take and give.
Yeah. And you've always been so kind to me, which is why I've always been so drawn to you, because you you can tell you get it from your mom, because your mom is like one of my favorites ever. I mean, her and I could gab 4 hours, and she is great. But I mean, their advice, you are practicing what you preach. So people should know that. And I really, really appreciate it. I've taken up a lot of your time already.
Oh gosh, no, it's okay.
I feel like we've talked so much, and it's always so funny when I do these interviews. I'm like, did I ask this? But I get so engaged in the conversation where I'm just like, I don't even know how, like, time just kind of flew by. And I'm like, did we talk about Felicity? I think we talked about Felicity.
Oh, yeah. We talked about everything. And also we had everything difficulty that like shut us off. So
I know. Good old technology. After we literally just spent 5 minutes talking about a technical difficulty, we willed it into existence. Well, I am literally going to finish season 3 of Felicity tonight. I texted you and I was like, if her and Ben are not together in the next season, I'm calling the authorities, because I am getting.
Wait, where are you?
I just started season 3 where they're about to move into an apartment together.
Okay.
But my thing is I am doing really good for myself because I love spoilers. I have not looked up a single spoiler for this show because I'm enjoying the journey where like.
Also it's so old that like, it's not like you're going to scroll. That's me with like The Bachelor. Like John will be like, you can't open Instagram. Like you will see something. Yeah. I don't think any sort of Felicity spoiler is going to be on without searching for it. So I think
I hope not. Like I did see a spoiler that Julie leaves the show, which I'm not too upset about because she kind of bores me a little bit. Like I feel like they could have made her a little more spunkier.
I agree.
Like her and Felicity are too much alike sometimes, and they kind of have the same tone and the same kind of like Felicity is very grounded and very like well thought out. And I think Julie can be like that, but in contrast, it's like, you should have got this like firecracker, like spunky girl. And she's not that. And that's what I was expecting from her. But that's the only spoiler I got, that she left the show. But usually like like Gossip Girl, I Googled who Gossip Girl was in the first 5 seconds because I was like, I'm not going through this. I'm not going through this anxiety. I literally needed to know what happened so that I could enjoy it and relax, because like some shows just give me so much anxiety.
Acting choices, knowing what their end thought, like instead of watching it twice, why not just watch it knowing?
Exactly. No, totally. Okay. Well, I love you. Thank you for doing this. I hope I see you soon. I better see you soon, even though I'm not there anymore.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And I'm sure I'll be blowing up your phone tonight about Felicity, but thank you so much for doing this and being on My Only Friends.
Of course.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.